Now let's add a tire to our wheel. Alright, so now we're going to add a tire to this wheel. So to begin with, I'll go to the left-hand view. And this is one of the reasons I like creating things at the origin. It's because we have a known pivot point here that we can work around. And anytime we need to kind of rotate things around, we've got it all figured out. We know where everything is. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the torus. So I'll just start here kind of at the origin. Drop that in. And I'll just drop this in. And now, as you can see, it is really, really thick. Look at our perspective. So now we can play with some of the parameters here. So we've got the main radius, okay. We've got our second radius, so we can play with the combination of both of those to kind of get the shape of our wheel figured out. Okay, so we can modify both of those. Pull that down a little bit. So we want kind of that much penetrating in. We can go ahead and turn on edged faces. And in this case, it kind of matches up nicely because we've got the same number of segments on here. Okay, if you want to change that up, you can. It doesn't have to match up, but it just gives it a little bit cleaner look in the wireframe. All right. And we've got 12 sides. I think 12 will probably work. You can see that that's what that gives us. Okay. So let's go ahead and stay with those settings. If you want to check and make sure that the thickness is right, you can take a look at that. You can see we've got kind of an edge right here on that tire, so we can look how we can go about creating that. I think the thickness, though, needs to be a little bit higher. So I'm going to go ahead and increase that second radius there by a little bit. Okay. And so in this case, we can now just scale this in a little bit. It's not going to be completely rounded there. So that'll give us something like this. Go ahead and convert that to an editable poly. And now we can take some of these polygons. So let's go ahead and take, let's say, this edge loop and this edge loop. Okay. And go ahead and go back to edge. And just hit Control and the polygon, and it'll select all those polygons in the middle between those, and we'll just delete those. Okay, and now we want to create that sort of a flatter edge there. So I'm going to select this edge, select the loop, and I'll just move it in just slightly. Okay, kind of flatten that area out. Do the same thing over on the other side. Just kind of flatten out that side. All right. And now I'm going to select the ring right next to this edge, right up here. Go ahead and connect and slide that edge right up against there. Okay, then we'll do the same thing over on this side. So select that ring, connect, and this is going to be over on the other side. So same amount right up there. So now when we go ahead and smooth this out, you can see we get kind of a sharper edge there right on the side. Okay, and this may be a little bit too thin. We can always kind of scale this out a little bit. Okay, you can always play with the width of that. This probably is a little bit too thin, so we could take both of these and just kind of scale that, and then grab that guy, scale him out. You want that metal lip just to be extending over this tire just a little bit. Okay, so it just kind of looks like it's holding that in. Okay, and we've kind of flattened out the side. If you want to kind of bulge that out a little bit right along that lip, it may add a little bit more realism there, because you got to think about, you know, what's going on with that tire is being held in by that lip. So in this case, we might want to go ahead and select that loop and just kind of just pull it out just a little bit. Okay, and gives it a little bit of a bulge there. All right. So now that we've got the tire added to the wheel, let's go ahead and in the next lesson look at creating the disc brakes. And for those, for the brake rotors, we're going to be using some splines again, but we're going to be using them in a little bit different way than the way that we used them on things like the tank and the seat, we're going to be using some booleans and some extrusions and things like that. So let's go ahead and do that in the next lesson.